Oprah Winfrey has always been a symbol of success, wealth, and influence. Yet few know that behind that shining image lies a deeper story of loss, betrayal, and resilience. This story did not unfold on stage or before television cameras, but within her personal life, a journey of rebuilding everything from the ruins, armed with courage and faith in herself. It all began after a long business trip. When Oprah returned, she was shocked to find the security guard at her upscale residence blocking her entry. In his hand was an envelope filled with legal documents. As she skimmed through them, Oprah was stunned to realize that her property had been illegally transferred into someone else's name, that someone being the niece she had loved dearly. In a single moment, the lifetime of achievements she had built seemed to crumble. But Oprah Winfrey is not someone who easily surrenders. After the initial shock, she gradually regained her composure. She knew well, losing material possessions did not mean losing herself. Oprah arranged to stay temporarily in a small house in the suburbs, where no one recognized her, giving herself time to think and plan. There, in the quiet, she began to gather her pain, transforming it into the fuel she needed to move forward. The early days in the new house were far from easy. Everything once familiar had become just memories. Her favorite chair, the family photos, the meaningful keepsakes, all were no longer within reach. But Oprah reminded herself, if I was able to build everything once, I can do it again. With the wisdom accumulated over the years, she made a list of the essentials for a new life: a safe home, genuine friends, and above all, freedom within her soul. Even after being betrayed by her own family, Oprah refused to let bitterness consume her heart. She understood that harboring hatred would only prevent her wounds from healing. Instead, she chose forgiveness, not to condone what had happened, but to liberate herself from the pain. For Oprah, forgiveness was an act of courage and conscious choice. Throughout her journey of rebuilding her life, Oprah reconnected with the simple joys that had once brought her happiness: reading, writing, gardening, and talking with friends who truly knew and loved her. From those small things, she rediscovered the true meaning of happiness, something that could not be measured by money or status. In the end, Oprah realized that material loss was just a small part of the human journey. What mattered far more was the emotional growth she gained, the inner strength forged through adversity. And even though old wounds might never completely disappear, they would become part of the living, authentic story she tells herself every day. Oprah Winfrey once believed that family love was unshakable, especially the bond she had with her niece, Kendall Jenner. She had raised Kendall as her own daughter, loving and shielding her from the storms of the outside world. However, that very trust became the blade that pierced her heart. When Oprah lost her sister, Kendall's mother, she opened her arms to take Kendall in. From a young age, Kendall was surrounded by the abundance Oprah provided: warm family dinners, summer trips around the world, and a home filled with laughter. Oprah gave Kendall not just material comfort, but also the belief that family was the safest place to return to. And then Travis Scott appeared. Travis, Kendall's boyfriend, initially came across as respectful and trustworthy. He often attended family gatherings, spoke sweetly, and shared future plans that Kendall, full of dreams, eagerly believed in. Oprah, with her seasoned intuition, occasionally felt uneasy, but she brushed it aside. She didn't want to be the one to stand in the way of Kendall's happiness. The first cracks began to show when Oprah noticed large sums of money disappearing from the family accounts, along with priceless items from her personal collection suddenly vanishing. At first, Oprah tried to convince herself it was all a mistake, but her instincts urged her to dig deeper. When the truth came to light, it was more brutal than any nightmare she had ever imagined. Kendall and Travis had secretly exploited Oprah's trust. Through cunning schemes, they transferred ownership of assets, auctioned off valuable possessions, and even forged legal documents to seize family properties. Oprah didn't just lose her homes. She lost irreplaceable heirlooms tied to her past, treasures that had once belonged to her mother, grandmother, and her own early years. What hurt more than the material loss was the betrayal. Oprah had always believed that if she ever lost everything, family would be her final refuge. But now, it was family that left her stripped of everything. She vividly remembered that fateful evening confronting Kendall and Travis in the living room, the dim golden light unable to soften the coldness in their eyes. Kendall, the girl she had once cradled in her arms, now looked at her like a stranger standing in the way. "I'm only taking what rightfully belongs to me," Kendall said coldly. Travis, standing beside her, simply crossed his arms and remained silent. Oprah didn't argue. She didn't cry. She merely nodded, turned, and walked away, carrying only a single suitcase with a few clothes and a leather notebook, a gift from her late mother, that she had always kept close. In the days that followed, Oprah fell into a deep silence. Friends, the media, and the public swirled with rumors, but no one truly grasped the pain she endured. It wasn't just about losing possessions. It was the feeling of being stabbed by her own flesh and blood with a wound that would never fully heal. Yet, even amid heartbreak, Oprah held on to her core. She refused to drown in hatred. She embarked on a difficult journey to seek justice, but also to rediscover herself. She understood that material losses could be regained with time and effort, but rebuilding trust meant starting from scratch, forging a new version of life, stronger and more resilient. Her relationship with Kendall became an open wound. Oprah no longer waited for apologies, nor did she hope for the old family bond to be restored. She accepted that some losses could never be recovered, and the only thing she could control was how she faced them and moved forward. In her hardest days, Oprah often sat on the porch of the small house she had rented, watching the sunset and reminding herself, a broken heart can still keep beating, as long as it knows that each beat is a chance to be reborn. After the shock of betrayal, Oprah Winfrey knew that sitting in sorrow would never help her reclaim what truly mattered. Material possessions could be contested, but sentimental items, family heirlooms, letters, old diaries, held an irreplaceable emotional value. Oprah understood. She had to act. She turned to Kim Kardashian, not just a famous media figure, but also a skilled lawyer who had handled many complex family disputes. Oprah knew that to face Kendall and Travis, who were not only cunning but also had their own legal team, she needed a strong and fearless ally like Kim. Their first meeting took place in a simple yet elegant law office in Beverly Hills. Kim listened intently as Oprah recounted everything, her sharp eyes missing no detail. "We're not just reclaiming property," Kim said. "We're reclaiming justice." After weeks of preparing documents, cross-checking papers, and communicating with Kendall and Travis's legal team, a formal meeting was finally arranged at a luxurious yet quiet cafe, neutral ground where neither side would feel pressured. Oprah walked into the cafe alongside Kim, her head held high. Her heart pounded, but she had learned not to show it. Across the room, Kendall Jenner and Travis Scott sat side by side. Their personal lawyer, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit with a stone-cold face, seated next to them. There were no hugs, no greetings. The air thickened from the very first moment. Kim quickly took the lead, her voice calm but razor-sharp. "We are here to negotiate civilly. Our first request is the return of the sentimental items listed in the documents we previously sent." Kendall's lawyer nonchalantly flipped through the papers. "Some of these items have been sold. Some no longer exist." Under the table, Oprah clenched her hands tightly but kept her voice steady. "Items like my mother's necklace, my grandmother's diary, the wedding ring. You couldn't possibly have sold those." Kendall looked up, her eyes icy. "They're just old things. I needed the money to start my own life." The words cut Oprah like another blade to her heart, but she had braced for the worst. She signaled to Kim. Kim smiled slightly, then slid forward a stack of documents. Proof of illegal transactions, secretly recorded conversations, and legal papers, verifying Oprah's rightful ownership of the disputed assets. Kendall and Travis's expressions changed instantly. Travis whispered something urgently to their lawyer, while Kendall glanced around the room nervously, as if searching for an escape. Kendall's lawyer cleared his throat and said, "We need more time to review." Kim leaned back leisurely. "We are more than willing to go to court, but remember, once this becomes public, your reputations will suffer greatly." Silence engulfed the table. Finally, after nearly an hour of tense back and forth, Kendall's side agreed to return the sentimental items that hadn't yet been sold. They promised to cooperate in recovering or adequately compensating for the missing ones. When the settlement documents were signed, Oprah felt as if she had survived a storm. She hadn't regained everything, but she had reclaimed the most important things: her memories, her roots, and her dignity. As they left the cafe, Kim gave Oprah a gentle pat on the shoulder. "You fought like a true queen." Oprah smiled, weary but joyful. She knew the road ahead would still be long, but today she had won an important battle, not just on paper, but within her own heart. That day, sitting on a stone bench outside the cafe, Oprah opened the old diary that had been returned. On the very first page, written in her grandmother's hand, were the words, "Even if you lose everything, you still have yourself. And from there, you can rebuild anything." Oprah closed the diary, lifted her head, and looked up at the deep blue sky. For the first time in so long, a small but fierce spark of hope ignited within her heart. After the grueling legal battle, Oprah Winfrey stepped into a new chapter of her life, a chapter no longer surrounded by luxury and fame, but filled with freedom and truth. Oprah left the grand mansion where she had lived for many years. Instead, she bought a small house in the suburbs with a tiny front garden and tall, swaying trees. Each morning, the songs of birds by the window became a gentle soundtrack for her fresh start. At first, everything was difficult. Oprah had been used to having staff to handle her meals, clean every corner of her home. Now, she had to do everything herself. The old dishwasher rattled noisily, and the washing machine acted up now and then. Yet instead of feeling inconvenienced, Oprah found a strange joy. She was rebuilding her life with her own hands, one brick at a time. Every morning after tidying the house, Oprah would sit on the porch with a cup of hot tea and write in her journal. She documented her thoughts, the ebb and flow of her emotions each day. Some days, her heart overflowed with hope. On others, tears silently dropped onto the pages. She wrote about the pain, but also about gratitude. Gratitude that even after losing what she once thought irreplaceable, she still had herself. Gratitude for the peaceful days, free from noise and competition. The neighbors, mostly working-class families, initially didn't recognize Oprah Winfrey, the former television icon living next door. But Oprah wasn't seeking recognition. She was simply a woman healing herself. One day, she decided to plant a small garden behind the house. Oprah chose hardy plants, lavender, roses, and herbs. Tending to the garden became a form of therapy. As she dug her fingers into the soil, she felt a reconnection to herself, to her deepest roots. Sometimes she would stand silently amidst the garden, holding pots of soil, basking in the warm sunlight on her face. That simple peace was more precious than any expensive possessions she had once owned. But healing wasn't always rosy. Painful memories would sometimes flood back. There were sleepless nights when Oprah recalled Kendall's face, the once beloved niece who had become a stranger. She wondered if one day the rift between them could ever be mended. Still, Oprah learned to let those memories pass like a breeze. She didn't cling to them, didn't resist them. She let them come and go. A turning point in Oprah's healing journey came when she found a small box among the belongings that had been returned. Inside were old handwritten letters from her grandmother, filled with tales of youth, love, and dreams. Oprah spent weeks reading each letter. Through those simple words, she realized that those before her had also endured loss, had stumbled, but always rose again, resilient. One letter, her grandmother wrote, "My dear child, never lose faith in life. Every loss is merely preparation for a greater joy to come." Those words felt like a healing balm for Oprah's recovering soul. Gradually, she began opening up to her new life. She participated in small community gatherings, helping teach children to read on weekends. She found joy when guiding a child to spell a difficult word correctly, or when sharing an old story that made everyone burst into laughter. Oprah realized that happiness doesn't come from what we own, but from what we give: care, patience, sincerity. Each passing day, that little house wasn't just a place to live. It became a part of Oprah's rebirth. Every corner, every bookshelf, every potted plant on the porch bore the marks of her effort, her tears, and her love. When spring arrived, the garden bloomed vibrantly. Lavender filled the air with its fragrance. Roses exuded a rich scent. Oprah stood in the middle of the garden, inhaling deeply, feeling as though the entire universe was embracing her. She smiled, a true smile. Life was no longer what it once was, but it was more genuine, more beautiful, and for Oprah, more meaningful than ever before. Since the end of the legal battle, Oprah had begun a journey of healing. She was no longer the woman of wealth and power, but each day she felt a new peace she had been longing for. Yet while Oprah was learning to close the past, one person couldn't let go: Kendall Jenner, her niece, who had betrayed her and taken away what mattered most. It all started with letters of apology that Kendall sent to Oprah daily. At first, Kendall's letters were short, just a few lines expressing regret and sorrow. "I'm sorry for what I've done, Aunt Oprah. I know I can't undo what happened, but I hope you can forgive me." But as the months went by, the letters grew longer, more detailed. Kendall gradually opened her heart, not just apologizing, but sharing her genuine emotions. Kendall wrote about sleepless nights, about the intense regret she felt when reflecting on her poor decisions. She admitted that the values Oprah had once spoken about, love, honesty, integrity, were things she had never truly understood until everything fell apart. "I was too greedy. I let myself get swept up in things that weren't worth it, and I lost what truly mattered. I can't change the past, but I hope you can see my sincere remorse." Oprah didn't respond right away. She didn't know how to deal with these apologies. Part of her wanted to forget everything, to leave Kendall to face the consequences of her actions alone. But another part of Oprah, deep in her heart, wanted to believe in change. She couldn't deny that Kendall had been a part of her life, and she couldn't simply erase her. Day after day, Oprah read Kendall's letters. Each one brought memories rushing back, not just the painful moments, but also the beautiful times when Kendall had been a sweet, innocent little girl clinging to her. Memories of the two cooking together in the kitchen, of family recipes passed down by Oprah's grandmother, all of it returned vividly. A part of Oprah wanted to bury it all in the past, but another part felt the need to open her heart to allow Kendall a chance to make amends. Months later, Kendall decided to visit Oprah in person. No more letters. She wanted to face her, to look into her eyes and apologize sincerely. She arranged to meet Oprah at her small house, the place where Oprah had found peace in her new life. When the day came, Oprah wasn't mentally prepared. She didn't know how she would feel, or if forgiveness was even possible. As Kendall stood at the door, with hesitant eyes and a small box in her hands, Oprah could only look at her in silence. "Hi, Aunt Oprah," Kendall said, her voice trembling. "I didn't come here expecting immediate forgiveness. I just wanted to tell you that I'm truly sorry. I can't change what I did, but I hope you can see that I'm changing, and I want to do everything I can to make things right." Oprah invited Kendall inside. They sat facing each other, a heavy silence stretching between them, before Kendall opened the small box she had brought. Inside was their grandmother's old recipe book, the priceless heirloom Oprah had thought lost forever. The pages were aged but intact, filled with traditional family recipes carefully preserved over the years. "I found it while cleaning," Kendall said. "I knew you would want it back." Oprah took the book into her hands, emotions swelling within her. It wasn't just a cookbook. It was a piece of memory, a symbol of family love, a bond she had once shared with her grandmother, and now it was back in her hands once more. "I lost so much," Kendall said, her eyes brimming with tears, "but I never forgot the value of family. I made a mistake thinking that anything could replace love and trust." Oprah looked quietly at Kendall, deep in thought. This wasn't complete forgiveness. It was a small step, a door cracking open. She didn't know if their relationship could ever fully return to what it had been, but part of her heart sensed Kendall's genuine remorse. "You hurt me deeply, Kendall," Oprah said, her voice gentle but firm. "And you can't expect me to forgive you immediately. But I thank you for bringing this book back. It's a precious gift." Kendall nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks, feeling a small but meaningful acceptance from her aunt. This meeting was not an ending, but a new beginning, a chance to rebuild. Oprah knew that healing wouldn't be easy, but she also understood that sincerity and the willingness to open one's heart were the keys to any real recovery. And with Kendall, even though full forgiveness was still a distant hope, Oprah kept a small flame of belief alive that the road ahead would be filled with truth, love, and reconciliation. Since the emotional meeting with Kendall, Oprah Winfrey has begun to realize that although the past cannot be changed, what she can do is decide how to move forward in the future. The experiences she has gone through, though painful, have also brought valuable lessons. She understands that her relationship with Kendall will never return to what it was, but that doesn't mean it will end. In fact, she sees that this relationship can enter a new phase, a more cautious, slower one, but also an opportunity to rebuild trust and connection. Oprah can't go back to the time when she could trust Kendall completely without any doubt. What happened has changed the way she perceives family members, but at the same time, it has given her a deeper understanding of herself. She realizes that any relationship requires time, sincerity, and patience to heal and grow. The relationship with Kendall, though damaged, can still be restored if both of them make an effort. Part of Oprah wants to cherish the beautiful memories she shared with Kendall over the years, but another part of her is keenly aware that she cannot live forever in the past. She cannot deny that Kendall hurt her, but she also understands that everyone can change, and sometimes mistakes are lessons for growth. This relationship will not be the same as before, but Oprah realizes that it can become a new one. You've not a replacement, but a transformation, where both of them can learn to love each other more maturely. To begin this process, Oprah returns to the family recipe book, the book her grandmother passed down to her, which contains recipes, family stories, and memories that she has preserved over the years. This book is not only a keepsake, but also a place where Oprah expresses her thoughts and feelings about life, family, and change. She opens the book, and instead of just writing about family recipes, she starts to write her thoughts about her new life. This life is not perfect, she writes. There are losses that cannot be recovered, but we can still build a future, one that may not be like the past, but still full of meaning and value. The pages are no longer just a place for recording recipes or memories, but have become a space for her to express her emotions and reflections on her healing process. Each word carries the weight of loss, but is also filled with hope for a new future. Oprah no longer lives in the pain of the past years. She understands that each day is an opportunity to begin again. She cannot forget what has happened, but she can learn to live in peace with the past, accepting it as part of her life story. She realizes that, even though time cannot be turned back, she can change the way she approaches everything, including how she views her relationship with Kendall. Each day, Oprah continues to write, continues to look back at her life through the pages of the book. She no longer feels the loss she once did. Every time she sees the family recipe book, she feels that the beautiful memories are not just things to keep in her mind, but a part of who she is, a source of motivation for her to keep moving forward. With Kendall, Oprah understands that the relationship between them will never be the same as it once was, but that does not mean a new relationship cannot be formed, one built on caution and mutual respect. Each new step is a challenge, but Oprah is ready to face it, even though she cannot know what lies ahead. This relationship will need time, and Oprah knows that she cannot rush. Every meeting, every conversation must be built from small, slow, and thoughtful steps. But she no longer fears the future as she once did. Oprah understands that although life may not be perfect, good things can still come, as long as she is willing to open her heart and accept them. Oprah's new life is not a life without loss, but it is a life in which she has learned to face the truth, to love herself and those around her again. And as she sits writing in the family recipe book, Oprah knows that while her life has changed, one thing remains unchanged: her resilience and her ability to turn every hardship into an opportunity for growth. Oprah feels that her new life, though imperfect, is still meaningful. She no longer needs to seek perfection because she has come to understand that it is the imperfection that creates the most cherished stories. In the end, what matters is not what she has lost, but what she still has, and that is love, inner peace, and the ability to keep moving forward.